Hey folks, welcome back to Gaming Garbage. So we're going to try the PlayStation Showcase. I've been trying this for a while, and it just has not been wanting to work. But I finally got a stream that worked great this morning, so I'm going to try this. We'll see what happens. And I know it's late, but I still wish to give my thoughts and just have it out there for people that are interested. So let's see, let's dig right into it. So first we're going to go through, oh yeah, like and sub and all that stuff. I forget about that. I got Gaming Garbage 22 at YouTube, and then Don't Tread on Thee on Twitch. And yeah, the PlayStation Showcase is going to have most of the games that they shared and the tech. I'm going to go over my thoughts of them. I also took notes. Go over the exclusives we didn't see. I'm going to go over some of the tech that they showcased. And then, actually, yeah, I think that's going to be it. So let's go ahead and get started. And, you know, just to say, strap in for probably 40 minutes. And then not every single game in the showcase is going to be in here. And I'm not going to necessarily have a lot of thoughts on all of them either. I'm sure most of you that have a PlayStation have already seen the showcase or watched it live. But I'm going to try to add some value because, yeah, most videos that I see, they don't talk about the exclusives that we didn't see or didn't hear anything about. And so yeah, the first one that looks somewhat interesting was Helldiver. Actually, it was Haven, and again, it looked like another squad type of game, and it just didn't. After Redfall, man, that's just a bad taste in everybody's mouth. And honestly, Haven didn't look anything interesting or exciting. It was like a heist game. And yeah, that was the first one that they had. And then they had Helldivers, which that looked interesting. Basically, you're like Starship Troopers, where you're a futuristic advanced military, and you're dropping into areas to fight bugs and stuff. I mean, it was exactly like Starship Troopers, and it kind of looked fun. Again, you can have a squad. There's actually some gameplay for this, which was good. And then yeah, if you hear them, my kids are in the background, so yeah, bear with the audio here. But hey, you know, being the life of a parent, nothing you can really do about it. So yeah, Helldivers looks somewhat interesting, and then there was Phantom Blade, and this one was the first like long trailer that they had, and Phantom Blade is like a Sekiro. It's in older style Japan, or like Imperial Japan, which is kind of cool. So they did have some gameplay as well for the combat, and I gotta say the combat was different. So there was I'm not exactly sure how the controls would work, but the combat was actually quite cinematic, and the person playing and showing, you know, the gameplay footage and the editor, they both did a really great job of making the game look exciting, and also difficult. So probably quite a challenging game. Yeah, Phantom Blade looked really good. Let's see, there was Ghost Runner 2. So Ghost Runner 1 has been out for a few years, and they'll be making a Ghost Runner 2. And that one looked pretty good, though I wasn't overly interested. Next we had Sword of the Sea. These are from the creators of Journey and Abzu. So a lot of the same style. Probably the same type of story and gameplay. So yeah, they're making another one. And a lot of people really actually enjoy these games. They enjoy kind of like the Journey style. And then, yeah, this one is taking place in sand again, it looks like. And it's looking, yeah, it looks pretty, or am I just remembering Journey? Sword of the Sea. Now I forget. It's been a few days and a lot's been happening, but yeah, Sword of the Sea looked pretty good. The Talos Principle 2, they showed that one next. and it's just taken right off with Talos Principle 1. So if you haven't played number 1, you're going to definitely want to play that first for Talos Principle 2, this puzzle game. And it's kind of fleshing out the idea of, when does a robot basically become conscious? And kind of, are they their own entity, or are they still a slave to their programming and stuff? And I think this is kind of somewhat relevant because we are starting to have a higher integration of AI, and have had a higher integration of AI into our world, with ChatGPT being the biggest one, Google having folks come back to kind of work on some programming to try to compete with ChatGPT, which did not go well. But I mean, we're also getting more into self-driving cars, and we're getting more into automation, and I mean, there's a point, folks, where we're going to see this shift, and we've already seen some. I think COVID and lockdowns have sped it up, but we're definitely going to see this shift, I think. And I forget the research study. There's expected 300 million jobs to be lost worldwide out of 8 billion people. Now, that's not like a huge amount. And as some of these third world countries or developing nations kind of like move into the first world stage of technology, they're probably going to lose more jobs per capita than maybe some others would. But really, AI is kind of a Pandora's box, good and bad, and we don't really know exactly what it's going to be like or how it's going to affect stuff. Square Enix showcased Foam Stars, which again, this is like a 3 versus 3, just arena style with foam. So think of it as like Splatoon and their answer to Nintendo's own game that they made. And I had to laugh at this one because they were trying to make it look cool and kind of intimidating the characters toward each other, and just the little quips and one-liners that they had were pretty cheesy. And then it's like foam stars. I mean, it's just it's just pretty hilarious. And I wonder what's next. Is it oil slicks from Xbox, or from Ubisoft or EA? I mean, come on. I mean, at some point, people, studios really need to be making their own stuff, and I wish they would do that. The next one was Teardown, which is pretty much Legos on steroids, so everything can be destroyed. There's different types of vehicles. There's kind of a playground of destruction to run around in, and then you can also have a character outside of your vehicle and still move around and go into some of the buildings and stuff. And it actually looked kind of fun. Didn't look like it would be a huge time consumer, but kind of something to play maybe with your friends or when you had some downtime. It did actually look quite fun. The next big one was Metal Gear Solid Delta. So this one I was very excited for. And Metal Gear Solid Delta is basically Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater. So if you know about that, that's pretty much what it is. I'm sure you've heard about this already if you're a big fan. But yeah, Metal Gear Solid Delta is going to be coming out. They just had a CGI trailer. They didn't have a time for it either, but they did also show that there was a Master Collection, which is Metal Gear Solid 1, 2, and 3, all going to be remastered, and that will also be available for Xbox, which I was really surprised. So you can guarantee I'm going to be freaking picking that up. I don't even care if it's 80 or $100. I'm going to be buying it. Because, and again, no idea of when that's coming out either. But I am so excited. I really enjoyed the series, the storytelling. I mean, in my opinion, that is just one of the pinnacles of storytelling and character development. Just really enjoyed the series. Final Fantasy 16. I do want to make it clear that I think Metal Gear Solid Delta is going to be exclusive to Sony. But the Master Collection won't be, because Xbox has had access to some of the older games or some of the other like remasters of the Metal Gear Solid series, like Peace Walker, for example. You could also buy 2 at one point. But yeah, I do think Delta is going to be exclusive, at least for a time. We'll have to see. Let's see. Next was Final Fantasy 16. So again, they actually had another CGI trailer of this, um, and this is going to be June 22nd. So it's really not that far away, folks. You got less than a month. Next was Alan Wake 2. So this is just continuing off the story. Alan Wake looks older, still writing his stories and stuff, but it actually looked to be a pretty good horror game. You're going to play a police officer that's kind of investigating some stuff that's going on with Alan Wake and some of the events happening around the town/city. That'll be October 17th of this year. Next, we saw Assassin's Creed Mirage. And again, this is going back to the roots of just kind of what Assassin's Creed was. So we're talking like, the year 1000 AD. There was someone narrating while you were watching the trailer, and not entirely sure. I don't think it's going to be like a continuation of the story, kind of like the Ezio collection, or like or Origins, or Odyssey, or Valhalla. These were stories that kind of just showed a character, right, going through. But this one feels kind of different, and I'm not exactly sure what they're going to do with it. But this is now coming out October 12th of this year. There's also Street Fighter 6. This will be June 2nd. And then they showed Dragon's Dogma 2. So this didn't have a date, but it did have some actual gameplay. And Dragon's Dogma 2 was a cult classic. A lot of people enjoyed it. Or Dragon Dogma 1. Excuse me, folks, my nose. There, let me check my audio. Make sure it's still okay. Wow, it's still working. That's wonderful. Okay. So Dragon Dogmas 2 was next. It did look pretty good. It did look... so, it's been in development for a while. Some of the stuff that they showed didn't look horrible. The resolution didn't look perfect. There was some choppiness in the frames a little bit. Go back and watch some. It didn't look top grade yet. But we still also do not have a date for this. So it's still in development. We probably at least got a year or maybe more until Dragon Dogmas 2 actually comes out. And I'll be looking to eventually play that one myself. Next, we had Five Nights at Freddy's Help Wanted 2. So this is just, moving on with Five Nights at Freddy's franchise. There is going to be a movie coming out in Halloween. If you're interested, my wife are going to be seeing that, of course, without our children. And, that should be a pretty good time. We're excited to see that one. But yeah, Help Wanted 2, the trailer shows that, that you were the only applicant, and stuff already starts kind of messing up and getting creepy when you're starting your job. And that one actually looks pretty interesting. Next, we moved into the PlayStation VR. So as we know, PlayStation VR 2 has not sold very well. It's extremely underwhelming at launch. They were expecting like 2 million units to be sold, and they got just over 200,000. So just roughly 10-11% of the entire expectation, which is really bad. And the problem that people complained about is that, well, you didn't have any games at launch. You had some demos, you kind of had some things to show things, but it's like there's really not a lot of incentive to spend an extra $500 on something that you can't even use because you got to wait for more games to come out. So here they started showing several games. The only one that actually looked quite interesting was called Synapse. This will be July 4th. Independence Day, folks. America Freedom. And this one looked the most interesting. So you're tapped into the mind of somebody on a conscious level, and you're trying to fight through their consciousness. And there's enemies, and you can control objects in the game, kind of like with force powers, if you will. And that one actually kind of looked fairly good and interesting, and quite fleshed out, too. So, again, this is literally coming out in a week, or a month and a week. And yeah, hopefully it's ready. The others, you can take a look at those. Saber Beats, they're adding Queen, and there were some others. But yeah, again, it's such a bummer that virtual reality it's a fun experience if you've never done it. It's quite cool, but they can't quite make everything immersive in a virtual reality experience because you have the physical limitations of your home. There's furniture, you can't walk around, and I don't even think the company's up anymore, but there's a company that allowed you in kind of a warehouse space to actually walk around and enjoy a story that they had set up in the warehouse. And so the game and how it was designed was how it was designed physically in the warehouse, and so you could walk through the story and enjoy it and have a blast. And they had props and they had smells and they had all of this stuff. And like a buddy of mine and I, we got to do something like that in downtown Disney when VR was really kind of like a new thing, and it was all Star Wars related. And I can't wait for VR to get to that point. That would be great. And with Ready Player One showing like haptic feedback treadmills and omnidirectional whatever, that would be truly amazing. I would jump right on that for thousands of bucks. I'd save up for it for sure. Yeah, VR, just you're still standing there, you're still sitting in the chair or whatever, and they kind of have these quote experiences and kind of fun gameplay games, but yeah, they're not top notch. You know what I mean? There's still some limitations there, and I wish they could figure that out. So after PlayStation VR, all the games that they showed, this one was really frustrating. They showed Gran Turismo the movie, and I was like, "What? You're showing a movie in a game showcase? That's really trashy." So anyway, they showed the movie again. It's basically gamers that race, thinking they can actually race in the real world, which I don't really think that's possible unless you trained ridiculously hard and had quite a passion for it, and if you wanted racing to be your life. But anyway, Gran Turismo the movie. That'll be coming out later this year. We move on to the tech part of the showcase. So they showed PlayStation 5 Mobile, or PSQ, is the project name, and it's basically the PlayStation controller split into two with a screen in the middle, and it's basically like a Nintendo Switch, and they're just making their own version. And again, nothing really goes onto the mobile device. You just can stream everything from your PlayStation 5. And they are working on a future update where you'll be able to stream compatible One games. So if you have a PlayStation, you probably know what that means. But yeah, again, this was just kind of lackluster. They also showcased Sony earbuds that you can play with your mobile game console. Didn't show anything about a price point. Didn't show anything about a release date, which is probably sometime next year. Maybe before Christmas, who knows? But again, it's just like, okay, the price point for that controller mobile thing is going to be probably $400 to $500. The earbuds are going to be probably $150, $200. And like, who has the money for that right now? Part of the reason PlayStation VR didn't sell well is because, yeah, it's expensive, folks. It's expensive. People don't have the money, and they got to prioritize what they're going to spend their money with. There's just not a lot of extra of it out there. The last thing was Spider-Man 2, and this had a ton of gameplay. It was pretty much all gameplay for the most part, and looked really good. Shared some of the story through the gameplay. And what a blast. And in my opinion, Spider-Man 2 at the end really capped off on a good high note and kind of saved the showcase. And, the reason I say that is because, one, let's go through the exclusives we didn't see or hear anything about. So Pragmata, this is later 2023. KOTOR remake, didn't see a thing. Wolverine, didn't see a thing. Um, Horizon, the next Horizon game, Call of the Mountain, we now know that's going to be a PlayStation 6 game, and that's probably going to be at launch for PlayStation 6. And PlayStation 6 is going to be in 2026. So that's their plan anyway, is later 2026. We didn't see anything about Baldur's Gate 3. That's going to have a full release on August 31st. It's been in early access since 2020. We didn't see anything about Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. That's coming out in December 31st, which is more kind of like an episodic type of release, kind of like a series of stuff. But yeah, the next one is the Rebirth. And then we didn't see anything about Death Stranding 2. And it's like, these are exclusive games, folks. And quite a few of the games that they had in their showcase weren't exclusive. They're also going to be on Xbox. And sorry about that, folks. And so there just wasn't anything, exclusive wise in the showcase. Excuse the audio, folks. I'm just gonna power through this. And yeah, hold on. Okay. Yeah, I got one of my kids that's teething right now, so he's just upset all the time. So, yeah, this was, I think, a truly a missed opportunity, and what a bummer. And yeah, they got, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They got 7 exclusives that are all going to be pretty big. People are excited for, and they didn't show anything on any of them, which I think is just freaking insane. And instead they have other games that they're showing that aren't going to be exclusive to Sony. And this is really the time to capitalize. Xbox hasn't had a great time lately with Redfall. People being worried about Starfield. There's been other issues too with Xbox, but yeah, Redfall really left a bad taste in their mouth. That was an exclusive game, and it was absolutely horrible. And I kind of feel like Sony didn't capitalize, partly because they didn't look at more exclusives. And it might just be the fact that they don't have anything to show for any of these. And so, and we've been seeing too for quite some time that there is just this focus of games being delayed, not just once, but at least 2 or 3 or even 4 times, or just not hearing anything. Like Flintlock, that was supposed to come out, that was delayed for this year, and it was supposed to come out later this year, and there hasn't been a single word about Flintlock. There's still the creators that made Ashen, actually, the game that you're seeing right now up on the screen. A44. We haven't heard a word about what's going on with Flintlock. And there's other games too, like the Xbox version of Warhammer Darktide. Again, haven't heard a word about that. That was months ago. And so we're starting to see this trend where there's companies kind of going quiet. There's more, the games and the companies that are in the forefront. I feel like the other companies are just kind of stepping back. But this showcase wasn't necessarily, anything special. And personally, I would give the showcase a D. Just barely passing. It was worth seeing. But when we take a look at really what was interesting or exciting for folks, there was basically 6 games. I mean, we got Phantom Blade, we have Metal Gear Solid Delta, Final Fantasy, Assassin's Creed, Dragon's Dogma 2, Five Nights at Freddy's, and Spider-Man. And that's basically it. And then we had a movie thrown in there. We had 2 pieces of tech that were thrown in there. And then quite a few of the games too. Um, just didn't feel like they belonged in a showcase. And I'm not trying to piss on these games. I'm not trying to piss on these developers, folks. But I mean, the level of quality of where they're at as a studio just does not match a showcase. You know what I mean? It's just not. It's just not quite there. And it's not that I don't think indie developers shouldn't be in a showcase. I just think they should be somewhat at the level in order to make it showcase worthy. And there were several of them there where it's like, where just move on. Like Cat Quest. I mean, it looked like it was a mobile game. And there wasn't. I mean, they just kind of showed some gameplay, tried to Michael Bay it with some explosions and some action, and that was kind of it. And it's like, what is that even doing in there? That shouldn't even be in there for a showcase. Also, there weren't a lot of AAA titles. You know, there's Assassin's Creed Mirage, Spider-Man 2, Final Fantasy 16, Street Fighter, and Metal Gear Delta. That's it. They had a movie in there. Why have a freaking movie in there? It's for games. A lot of the showcases, too, were short. And there wasn't really a lot to go on for these showcases. And most of these showcases were also trailers. There wasn't a lot of stuff to go on with the trailers because, again, they were short. They didn't really flesh out the story. Some of the best trailers were Helldiver, Phantom Blade, let's see, Final Fantasy 16, Assassin's Creed Mirage, Five Nights at Freddy's, and Spider-Man 2. I mean, those are like the best trailers out there, whether they were gameplay or just CGI. But a ton of these also were just CGI. There wasn't any gameplay. A lot of these games too didn't even have a month and a year of when they're going to come out. They had like a season, fall of 2023 or 2024. And like I don't remember a time where the showcases were like this. Kind of just a lack of games, a lack of dates, and not a lot of gameplay footage. Just CGI. And that kind of has me worried, folks. Not just because I own an Xbox and I'm not super interested in PlayStation right now. No, I'm interested in the gaming space. I have a Xbox because that's what I prefer. And I don't have the money to buy both. Honestly, I didn't even have the money to buy my Xbox. But I mean, what is going on? And then too, some of these AAA titles, they're delayed for over a year. And even like Assassin's Creed, that was supposed to be like a June launch game. And then, oh, hey, it's going to be in August. Okay, so I'm waiting till August. And, oh, now it's going to be October. Something just feels off, folks. The gaming space, something is just going wrong. And, yeah, I don't know. Well, let's see. And if this had been an Xbox showcase, there would have been a ton of hate for this. Oh my worse. Oh my goodness. It just would have been a lot worse for Xbox. Some do was just some of the annoying moments in the beginning where PlayStation decided to kind of show the iconic 4 PlayStation buttons with lights and stuff, and it didn't really yeah, it's just like, come on, let's get to the showcase. I'm glad they didn't do that through the entire showcase, but that was just kind of a minor thing. The other things that I mentioned, I think, are a lot more relevant and concerning. So for the PlayStation Q, this mobile device is going to be 1080p. It's going to be 8 inches diagonally, and it's going to be at 60 hertz. There will be an app later that will allow compatibility 1 games that you can stream to the device from your PlayStation. Streaming will be from remote play over Wi-Fi 2. Looking at Tom's guide and a couple of others, they're thinking somewhere between $400 to $500 for this mobile device for Project Q. and the controls will have the same buttons and features as a DualSense controller. And then there was something at the end that they showed, but they didn't talk about it at the showcase. And that was Project Leonardo, and it's a controller. It's a redesigned controller for the disabled. And I'm glad they at least had that in there. But like it was such a little blip. It's like I didn't even know what it was. I had to go back and look at it, and then take some time to look it up. And yeah, it's Project Leonardo. So at least they did have it in there, but I think they could have put at least a little audio blurb in there about the controller. Because yeah, that does affect some people, you know. And yeah, it would have been nice if they had have shared that a little better. So anyway, that's my thoughts on the PlayStation Showcase. Again, I rate it as a D, and there's just a lot of games that don't really have a date. These studios, these companies that have been working on some of these games for a few years now, they don't know when their game's coming out. And that's kind of concerning. I'm glad at least Redfall has happened, and several other games that have been really lackluster over the last several years. Because I think the studios are starting to realize, hey, we can't sell our trash anymore. They are looking for a higher standard. So good job, folks, if you've been a part of that fight, because I really think the studios and publishers need to understand, especially now with the recession and just less money, that we're not willing to pay $70 for something that might be a risk. We all have our games and studios that we really enjoy, and so we buy their games. But I think there's a lot of us that don't we don't buy as many games as we used to, and it's because when we feel like we got cheated, skated, or ripped off, especially now at $70, it really doesn't feel that good. So anyway, that's my thoughts on it, folks. Thanks for tuning in. If you're enjoying the channel and content, or have suggestions, go ahead and let me know at on Twitch at Don't Tread on the, and then for YouTube, I'm at Gaming Garbage 22. And yeah, hopefully this Twitch audio thing is fixed. It just seems to come and go, folks. I can't really control it, but hopefully I'm going to watch this showcase before I actually put this up on the channel. But yeah, hopefully the audio was good through the whole thing. Because yeah, there's some things I want to stream that I want to get to during the weekend. My weekend is literally happening tomorrow, and if the audio is messed up, man, that is going to be frustrating. So hang in there, folks. Take some time to, kind of relax when you get to the weekend. Kind of get some things done to make you feel like you did something, and yeah, invest in people, and do something nice for somebody. The recession is going to make things harder. People are going to be more on edge, and yeah, I think things are just really getting started with the recession. If some of you guys would like some data, let me know in a comment or a video or a message or whatever, or a whisper, and I will actually make one. I keep up with this stuff for fun, and also for investment ideas and knowledge on kind of how to make some money in the markets. But yeah, the macro data is really bad. And some of it is at levels we haven't seen since the Great Depression, and some of it are levels we have never seen before. So if you have debt, get some paid off. Have some money set aside for you and or your family. Make sure your roommates are solid and other members of your household that you rely on. And yeah, just get ready for this. I think this is going to be a bad one. Hopefully not, but I always think it's better to be prepared than to be sorry. And with that, folks, I'll see y'all on the next one.